Hello and welcome guys to part 2 of our Catia tutorials. Now in this episode what we're going to be covering is the basic mouse movements, and we're actually going to create a part. In this instance we're going to create a bevel gear support. So let's get straight down to it. We're going to go to File, New, and we're going to create a product. Click OK. Now select Product 1 in the top left, start mechanical design and part design. And this will create a part in the product. If you didn't select product 1, most likely you've created a part in a separate window. Now, the basic mouse functions. What we're going to do is we're going to expand this tree here, and we're going to click on XY plane, and we're then going to go to Sketch. Under Sketch, we're just going to select the rectangle tool and just create a rough equal rectangle. Then click the exit workbench. Now, basic mouse controls. Left mouse button is used to select sides, surfaces, edges, lines, anything like that. It can also be used, to click on a surface and then sketch, etc. The middle mouse button on its own, held down, is used to move the object without changing its orientation. Next we have the middle mouse button held down and the right mouse button held down. Now this is what is used to change its orientation and to have a look at the whole 3D object. After this we've got the middle mouse button held down with the right mouse button held down. Then you release the right mouse button whilst holding down the middle button still, and you'll get a zoom function. Now this can be combined with, say, now clicking on the right mouse button and holding that down. You see what I mean? You can now have a look around, zoom in on parts, and it's really useful to get used to this. It can make creating parts a whole lot easier, instead of going into zoom mode. Okay, so we're just going to get rid of this part. There we go. Now, you've got your product 1, your part 1, and part 1 again. What we're going to do is we're going to click on part 1 with the brackets part 1, right click on that, click on properties, and we're just going to name this to bevel gear support. Now you can change this, but this is what is used to differentiate between parts. So you could just have one as part 1, but we're only creating one part today, so we're not going to have to worry about that. Now onto sketching. As I said, this is your tree. The tree includes all the features created with the sketch and everything you use to define that sketch. All the solid features are contained within this part body, as mentioned in the previous episode. They include all the sketches, the wireframes, and all the features that you do to that sketch. They are also added to the tree in order of creation. But for now we're going to go into the part design workbench. So what we're going to want to do is, if you see these here, so this part 1 here, and it will take you into part design workbench. The part design workbench is used to generate 3D solid geometry using a feature-based approach. Before you get into the detailed commands of Catia, this lesson will give you a feel of what you can do with the software, just the basics. It will provide you with a step-by-step development of a 3D CAD model, i.e. the bevel gear support, and showing you how to use all the key icons. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. We're going to click on the XY plane here, and then click on the sketch mode. So this will take us into the sketch mode. You want to make sure that you have got snap to point selected and also dimensional constraints selected. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start off by creating 2 circles. This dotted line, which you can see running across the horizontal plane, just shows that it is actually on the horizontal plane. So that is already constrained already, and I'll talk about constraints in a second. So now that we've got our 2 circles, we do need to constrain them, because we need to say what diameter they are, say. So what you're going to want to do is click on this constraint and click on the outer side of the circle. Set the diameter to 60. Click OK. To change the diameter, all you do is double click and it will come up with the constraint definition. Just click OK. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is we need to say how far away it is from the origin. So we're going to click on the center point of the circle here. It will turn orange, and we're going to click on the vertical axis of the origin. And as you can see, this is now turned green because we've said how far away it is. We've constrained it about the origin point. So we're just going to do the exact same for the left hand circle, like so, and that has turned green as well. Now for this, we're going to set them to 70 and 70. So they're equal distance apart from each other. If I was to just say do from point to point, it wouldn't turn green because we have to say it's 70 away from the origin here and 70 away here, adding up to 140 obviously. If it doesn't turn green by doing this, you didn't follow the blue checkered line, you just did the circle. So what you have to do then is add another constraint. So you're saying that the center point of the circle and the height between the horizontal is 0. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're just going to create 2 lines. So we're going to create a line here. You should see the circle go orange. That means it's linked with that. And these 2 blue lines that you can see on the outer side of the circle and the line just show that it's parallel, running parallel with the circle. So if I was to do it there, it'd be parallel. Anything else, not parallel, parallel. Okay. And we're just going to click on the exact same point that we clicked on to start the circle. And as you can see, that's turned green already because we know that it lines up with the midpoint of the circle, and it's now constrained because it knows the length of it. So we're going to do the same for the bottom one, following the exact same principles, and it's turned green. Next, what we want to do is we want to erase this line here. So under here, you'll have trim. You want to hold down the trim button and you'll get the eraser, the quick trim. And we're just going to select the inside lines, like so. And there we go. We've got our first wireframe structure designed. So what we're going to do is we're going to exit the workbench and we're going to use something called pad. Now pad is used to turn it into a 3D object instead of a wireframe sketch. So you can choose the distance here with this arrow. We can go down or we can go up. So we are just going to select the up and create a pad of 20 mils. The next thing we're going to want to do is, instead of sketching on this plane here, so if you imagine this is like a flat surface, it will sketch it always on that plane, but we don't want that. We want to say sketch on this. All you do is select the surface you want to sketch on and click the sketch tool. Now to center an object, what you can do is you can go down to here and fit in all. We are then going to create a circle, make sure we've selected it on the midpoint, and we're just going to constrain that, double click, and we're going to change it to 45. Now this has already turned green because we've selected the center point of the origin. We know that it knows exactly where it's going to be, so it will turn green instantly. We're then just going to exit that and we're going to pad that one as well to 20, like so. Well, that's good, but say we want to remove part of the surface. Well, there is a tool for that as well. We're going to go into the sketch mode and we are just going to create a sketch here, like so. We are then going to constrain this to this point, this to the left hand center point of the circle, and obviously the diameters of the circles. So the diameter we want to keep at 20, and we're going to do them 70 apart from each other. Now this has happened. It has moved the object. Why? Because we haven't constrained it to the horizontal. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add another one here and set that to 0. And there we go. They're lined up perfectly. We're going to exit the workbench. And now say we want to pocket something, remove material from it. We're just going to go to the pocket tool, which is just below the pad tool. and we're going to do it 20 mils because that's the depth of the pad of this. So as you can see, it's gone all the way through and it looks nice. But we don't necessarily have, smooth edges. We've got quite sharp edges and we want to change that. We can go into edge fillet. We can select this corner here and all around here as well. And we're going to make that 2 mil. Click OK. And there we go. We have got smooth edges. It's just made them round. So that is done. Now the next thing we can do is we can completely remove part of a solid. So say we wanted all of this out, but we wanted, say, a 2 mil gap between here and here, and a 2 mil gap between there and there. So we're going to click on the shell tool. And if this hasn't come up purple, all you want to do is just select this surface here. So we're going to set it, say, to 2 mil. Click OK. And we now know that this is shelled all of this on the inside. So if we're wondering what the distance would be between there, well, we know that it'll be 2 mil. And that's the same for everything. So there we go, guys. You've now built your bevel gear support. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, tell me in the comments what I could do to change, if there's anything you want included in this tutorials.